Okay.
Okay.
Hi, Chris. Good afternoon.
Hi, Martin. Hi, good to see you. How
Uh,
you doing?
hi. Thanks a lot for your time and everything. Thank you. Thank you for agreeing to do this.
No problem. Pleasure, my
I
pleasure.
don't think we've met actually, but I'm from Uddingston, and I do remember
Uh,
vaguely. I'm slightly younger, but I
hmm
do remember vaguely seeing you guys. And I'll just tell you, the role of the three songs that I've been crazy about since I was 16, 17. The three singles that you came out with, and
yeah,
these,
state of art.
yeah,
State of
Sunkissed,
art.
Honey at the Core.
Uh-huh.
I always put them on like C90 mixes if I was trying to impress a girl, and it worked every time. And I'd
Watch
like to
everything.
thank you for that.
So you're very welcome.
I'm
You're
sure
most
you've heard
welcome.
it.
It was fun. Yeah. So no, your name rings a bell from the Rossies
There's a
in
few.
Uddingston.
Francis is a drummer, you probably know my drummer, the Francis
Ah,
connection.
yes. Uh-huh.
But
Yeah,
anyway,
that's
you're from Bothwell or Uddingston? Are you from Lanarkshire?
well. I know. Born in Uddingston, born in the West Cottages along. You know that
In
it's still there.
the
There's
West
the
Cottages.
sort of out on their own. They're kind of uh, just across the motorway bridge, heading before you go up the big hill
Wait a minute, that's not
towards
where that crazy story of the murder was. There was a
there's something there was big scare stories about Peter
That's
Manuel.
it. Those
Uh,
houses.
yeah, I don't think the murders took place, but he he lived high in the fields above
All right.
up, and he apparently my mum used to always say that was his cut through. So
Yeah,
she was
yeah. I
there's
used to
all
use
these
that cut
massive.
through myself. I used to go through because there was a big house and then there was two small ones. I imagine you're in one of the
Yeah,
small ones.
yeah, exactly.
Not the
Yeah,
big
we were
one,
just
the
in a
big
small
one.
cottage. We were in
Yeah.
a row of, I mean, they're really lovely houses. By the time they were, I guess, modest kind of workers' cottage type things in a long terrace.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
really, now they're very desirable little sandstone
I used to
things.
deliver the free paper in there as well when I was a kid.
Did you? Okay, yeah, yeah. But yeah, no, you're right. The Manuel was a notorious case.
That
But
was
yeah,
crazy.
he killed it. Yeah, we were quite spooked. At one point, my grandparents stayed in Uddingston, and they were very close to the site of the horrific murder where he'd been working for a family and the handyman and he bloody killed them, lived in the house for 3 weeks. So it was all
Was
really
that in
quite,
Uddingston?
yeah. I mean, all for a sleepy little place like Uddingston, there's a
I
lot
wonder
going on,
what that I wonder what that
Yeah,
weird vibe was.
yeah. But I mean, having setting that aside, that was slightly before our time. I think that was in the late 50s or very early 60s. But as I say, my mum used to always say the reason we had the massive bolts on the doors. Oh yeah, that
Right.
was all to do with the scare around Manuel creeping
Yeah,
around
I remember the
Uddingston. And
Woods. They were called the
yeah,
Bluebell Woods, and then Clyde
yeah.
Nuke, but also with
Clyde,
the sugar factory was, I think,
Clyde
on the
knew that was a
sugar.
beautiful. There had been a mansion, but there was just like a ruined fountain and things down.
Fountain
Very
was crazy.
romantic,
It
very
was to meet
beautiful
near
sort of. Yeah,
to meet near the fountain.
I'm going to try and turn my volume up a bit here
So
so I
I
can hear you.
reckon,
That's better. Yeah.
cool. I reckon you didn't go to Holy Cross then, did you?
No, I went to Uddy Grammar.
Oh, you're on
So
the other side. So I probably was fighting you.
yeah, it's probably no. I went to primary school in Muiredge, and the
I,
St John's was over the wall,
I
and
was
then
St. John,
literally.
so you were, like, we used to throw bricks
uh,
and rocks and
Yeah, I witnessed it. Yeah, I was just an interested spectator. There's my
yeah.
mum's side of the family are all Catholics, but I was sent to a non-denominational,
All
but of
right.
course it was known as a Protestant school. As in those times, it was non-denominational. That was that's something that came later, really.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, so I used to actually go to St John's Church for the watch night services. That I was a big fan of that. The theatre of it all
The
was, as I
chapel,
say,
yeah.
the
I kind of
chapel. Yeah.
I lost interest, and then I kind of got back into it because I was over in
Uh,
Palestine. I went to see a few things over there, and that got me a little bit back into the Mary part of that story. Mary
uh,
kind of was written out of the Bible. But
yeah.
so like you were at Muir Edge, and then you went to the grammar in Uddingston, aye?
Yeah, the grammar, which was turned out to be fortuitous because there was a big, also just the times we were living in, music was a big thing, and then
Right. Oh, you stuck.
play an instrument. It wasn't doing musical tuition. There was the kind of Fridays, I think it was, we were allowed to bring in a record, and
Okay.
there's a big fight to see who could get the record played. But it was great. People people were exchanging ideas and who they were into, and it was always a real mixed bag, for everything from my friend Paul McGeechan was into the prog side of things,
Hmm.
ELP, Rush, Floyd, and then we started to meet more around maybe the Beatles. The
Right.
first time
A
I
little
heard
bit earlier than
Pepper.
that, because when I was
Mhm.
6, 7, I was into Adam the Ants, probably Acid Camera, the Smiths, and then Acid House came, and then I was like, "Choo!" But
A little bit to
what
that,
about
yeah.
you? I mean, I kind of have this obsessive thing where I get into one band, and do you have a similar progression?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's true when you think of it. I mean, again, being a few years old, I was born in 1962, so
Right.
the Beatles were always around. We had a lot of singles. My parents didn't seem to have a huge amount of records. They had a lot of Beatles records, and then a kind of smattering, a bit of Donovan, a bit of the Clancy Brothers.
All right.
It was a mixed bag. But by the time I started to get, always watched Top of the Pops. I think everyone did. It
Yeah.
was sort of event television, black and white. I remember the early black and white ones, and being
Mhm.
absolutely fascinated by these gorgeous creatures with the long kind of silvery hair, the beautiful girls all dancing and stuff, and then a creep like Savile appeared in the thing, and I mean,
Mhm.
God, terrified of this guy. But you
Whoa.
started listening to Top Pops, watching it, and then listening to the charts religiously. And it's not particularly cool, but I think the first band that I became a bit obsessed with were Mud.
All right.
So it's not a cool one, but but they were all right. It
What
was
was their big song? I just get the
Tiger Feet.
Tiger Feet,
Tiger
was
Feet
that right? Because I
was
remember
tied
the
in with
Sweet
stripy
One.
socks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's neat. That's neat. I love your Tiger.
That's
Yeah, I
neat. That's
remember
neat.
that.
That
Yeah,
I remember it's something your tiger feet. I mean, it was fun. It was fun. It kind of rock and roll, and then they had the cat crept in and that sort of stuff. And then Susie Quattro, that was a revelation. It was like my
yeah.
first big crush on a female, pop star. Um, so yeah, she had some good singers as well. And from there, I graduated. I became a bit of a Queen. Yeah, I got all the Queen albums. I think following off from Bohemian Rhapsody probably. But
Mm,
then somewhere around 76, 77, the Bowie thing, that was the big obsession crept in.
yeah.
Uh, my friend Neil lent me Diamond Dogs. And funnily enough, my very first single had been a Bowie single, but it was Laughing Gnome. So again,
Okay.
not many points for the coolness, but what
Nah,
was Bowie? I kind of got the Bowie bit right, but the single, but I love the
better
Laughing
to be
Gnome.
honest
And
than cool. Being
yeah, and a
honest
great
is
B-side. And a great B-side as well. The something according to Tony Day or something. The Gospel according to Tony Day.
right.
Uh,
I
so
don't
yeah,
know.
so Bowie. I'm navigating towards Bowie, which then opened all the doors to the Velvets and
Everything,
Iggy,
yeah.
all sorts of music. So yeah, but yeah, I remember those very obsessive periods of as I say, it was Queen for a year or so. Then the Bowie thing. You just
And
had to get everything.
did you get your first guitar before leaving Muir or was
Uh,
that
uh,
more second step?
there was when it was probably I borrowed a horrific guitar from my aunt, an almost unplayable classical thing to
Uh-huh.
get a few chords together when I was about 15, 16. But then
Oh, later on then. Aye, that was quite late.
later on, yeah, I didn't start playing music until it was about then. Someone suggested really punk was like for so many people. I mean, 77 when punk made its way to Uddingston. Um, it's year after London or whatever.
Yeah.
A lot of people would say it was over by then, but there was the Pistols and everything that really a lot was going on musically. So there was all the
There was a few
I was
guys at the
relishing.
cross. There was a few
Yeah,
punks.
absolutely. Yeah, there would
I
have
think they
been
were in the petrol station actually.
yeah. You get guys like the McCluskey brothers, of course.
Aye,
They were Holy Cross guys,
that's right. Yeah.
um, and they were out great. They stayed around the corner from my friend Neil, and they rehearsed in an old building, a stable block, and we had the similar setup 200 yards away in my friend
In
Neil's place. So they
in
had a punk
Bothwell.
band in Bothwell, yeah.
Okay,
Uh,
right.
they were just opposite the Griffin Hotel, was it called? The
Aye,
place
aye,
where the Glasgow drinkers had to go on a Sunday to
that's
beat the
right.
license laws. So it was a busy pub on Sundays. And people were driving for miles just to get a pint. But yeah, the McCluskeys were in there. So this is about 78 by this point.
Okay.
So they had a punk band called Raw Deal. We had a punk band called the Craniums, and Raw Deal were were much better than us, that's for sure. But we were triers. We gave it a
No,
go.
even when I go for a walk now, when I get back home, I always see the bluebells scratched into the wall on the walk between the castle and.
Ah,
Have you seen that? Have you ever done that
it
walk
rings
along
a
the
bell.
side?
I've not been down there for a long time, but that rings a bell. Well, that's been
Apparently,
there for a long time, hasn't it?
yeah, apparently it
That,
was them.
it was
Apparently it was them.
absolutely. Yeah, that sounds like their style. Yeah, David and Ken. Yeah,
Because the castle and holds a lot of. I mean, it's my first time getting drunk. Probably my first time with a girl. My first time having anything psychedelic. It was all Bothwell Castle. That was for me, you know.
yes,
And this
uh,
line about Bothwell Castle falling down.
yeah,
You wrote that, did you?
yes, that's right. Yeah, it was. I was. Yeah, Boulder Castle
What?
was a big feature. Me, it was a place I knew and went to a lot and loved. It was yeah, it's a great place.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
funny enough, Paul McGeechan, who was in Friends again with me, his dad worked as a stonemason on Bothwell Castle when
Right,
they were
right.
sort of they rebuilt a kind of one big wall. It was quite
Yeah.
controversial, but
I was
it looked
sad to
too
see
new,
it.
didn't it?
I
It
was
didn't
quite
look
sad.
right.
Nah, I don't like
But
that.
he jokingly was kind of chasing me about that line that keeps falling down. I'm working on.
Yeah.
You kind
I
of
used
you
to be
took
you could just
walk.
go in. You didn't have to
Oh
pay.
yeah,
Is that
yeah. I
right?
think it was just kind of open until they built that bloody wall. There was
Jumped in, you know. It was
just
cool.
wondering. Pretty
What a
amazing
place.
castle, actually. Yeah, but so were you actually you were in that you were growing up in Uddingston?
I was lucky enough to live
Whereabouts?
to live there, and I have fond memories. But when I go back, it seems strange whenever I go back. But
Yeah,
I do remember. I think it was one of you guys, maybe your keyboard player, stayed up at the Policies. But
that's that was. I moved up there.
was that
That was our
you?
big.
So I do
Yeah, yeah.
remember seeing you because you used to walk and get on the train, and I knew you vaguely because I'd seen a gig at Bell College or something. It was mad.
Yeah, we did play. That was where the very last Friends Again gig, as far as I recall. And apart from then, there was a 40-year gap, and we played again.
My memory's so bad, but I just remember
Yeah,
it being madness or something happened. I don't know.
yeah. But Belka, yeah, we were. I was up in the policies after moving from Homewood. I was in Homewood Avenue which
Right.
was I loved it in there. That was a great place to grow up because we had this sort of the old disused railway line behind the house, which had become a wood, had just the trees had taken over. So with this marvelous little wood behind us, and then the M74, which wasn't quite so great, but interesting in its own way, sitting up in the waterway embankment, swigging a bottle of cider or something, just watching
Yeah.
the world
Very
go
down.
past.
Very down.
It was interesting, great place to it was a great place to live up, grow up, I think.
So
And
what happened at that Bell? Just to jump to the Bell College gig, was that the final gig? Was it just like a? Did you have a fight on stage or something like that?
no, not as dramatic as that.
Huh?
We'd actually agreed to break up before the gig.
Okay.
I think James Grant had just decided he wanted. Okay, he was fed up with the lack of a commercial breakthrough, and he wanted to
Right.
basically be a frontman himself. So he went on and did Love and Money. Uh, so we'd agreed to do the gig. It was just fulfill the commitment. But more importantly, we'd been asked to do the tube.
Oh God.
So we thought, well, let's stay together until we've done the tube. But
Bell College and then the tube.
yeah, but we foolishly mishandled that. We didn't properly tell the record company and the management that was the plan. So then when they found out that we'd broken up, but they just went nuts and they pulled the whole plug, the tube thing.
Yeah,
So that didn't happen, which was a bit of a shame. But that would have been a nice way to finish.
yeah,
So
yeah.
get a bit of because the tube was big news at that time, as you know.
Yeah, because there's not
Um,
much footage of you playing live at that time, and there's not much to
no,
see.
there's two or three TV. There's a kind of kids TV thing and there's a Channel 4 program called Switch, which was live when we were going like a million miles. We were so nervous, and it's actually quite good, but everything was like super fast.
Ah, cool.
Um,
I haven't seen that. It's on
yeah,
YouTube,
it's out there somewhere, and there's a couple of like promo videos. But there was a sort of expensive one for State of Art, which yeah, in grand 80s style, they blew about 40 grand in a video or something. Um,
Wow.
yeah, it's just different times.
So
But
you so you were together for how long then? The band Friends Again?
probably in various formats from about 1980, 81. We were just me, Paul, and Neil were messing about, and then a friend Andrew came on board for a year or two as a guitarist. Then
Mhm.
he left, and then James Grant and Stuart Kerr came on board, and that was the sort of the classic lineup that we did in maybe 18 months. It seemed like it seemed like 18 years when you're living it. At that age,
Yeah.
everything's, I don't know, it's kind of, nothing seemed to be happening yet. But I look back and like, oh shit, we were achieving quite a lot. We just didn't feel like we were getting anywhere. But which is crazy when you think of it. You sign a major record deal, you sign a major publishing deal, but you're not getting anywhere. But youth, that is
It's
something
funny
to
when
do.
you. I always think that an artist. It doesn't matter if it's a visual artist. I mean, they're always trying to write the perfect song or paint the perfect picture. And you
Yeah.
probably didn't know it. You wrote three perfect songs, as far as I'm concerned,
Well,
or
that's
four or
well, that's
five.
all that matters. If you feel it, that's good too. It's
I mean,
if
something
anyone's
like
perfect.
a song to the siren or Wild to the Wind, or all these songs that they go always go on the mixtape. They always stand up to repeated plays. They never
Yeah.
really they're timeless, you know.
Yeah. Love those two. Yeah, they're
Like,
fantastic. Yeah, I
probably
mean,
didn't realize at the time, or maybe you still don't. I suppose it's different if you've done it yourself, but I'm sure a million people have told you that. But
well, it's nice when anyone says it. I mean, one massive compliment to me is that James Grant still plays State of Art in his solo acoustic sets all the
Mhm.
years later, because he regards it as when he heard it and he thought, hang on, this guy, you wrote this song. He was dumbfounded, which I didn't really realize at the time, but yeah, that's a huge buzz. It's hugely flattering that he's still playing it and tells the story that way after all these years. So yeah,
how was the process? Do you drink or smoke, or was it waking up in the morning? Or was it come in the dream? All these cliches, you know,
it's
but
more of the come of the dream type stuff.
ah,
I mean, I used to daydream a lot, and I did 1 year at Strathclyde Uni, and I remember frittering the time away really messing about with lyrics rather than listening to the lectures, that type of stuff.
yeah,
So I think State of Art. I remember some of the verses coming when I was at uni, definitely,
yeah,
and I used to go down to the rock garden, which
okay.
was quite handy for Strathclyde Uni, and just you know wistfully look at all the cool people and wish it could be something. Wish it could be more than just like a humble student and a bit of a kind of felt like a nerdy student. Just like classic classic youth. Feeling uncomfortable within your own skin.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, it's Honey at the Core. I remember writing walking down Sauchiehall Hall Street late at night. Because at that point, my mum had moved out of the family home. The parents were separating, divorce, and she took a flat up by York Hill Hospital when it was. I didn't know that part of town then. Later I stayed there for many years, but I remember walking down that great stretch of Sauchiehall Hall Street down the far west end of it. You're
Mhm.
getting quite far down, and the chorus to Honey at the Core was. I'd probably had a couple of beers, and it was just
Yeah.
the lines suddenly, so suddenly they just knitted together and had a chorus for the song and the title. So yeah, just wee moments.
And did you
Yeah,
get like when you were playing it live the first few times? Did you get a feeling that something special is going on here, or
well, I think we kind of knew it was a mixture of like massive insecurity and
yeah.
yes, we obviously had some overriding ego and
Mhm.
like yes, no, there's something good going on here. Otherwise, we wouldn't have kept at it for so long.
I always ask people this about something for me when I was sitting at having my dinner, you know, when I'm a kid, and it's like I always had to eat the dinner. There was no choice, you know, and it was always like
Yeah,
if you don't eat your dinner, you don't leave the room. So I remember I
yeah,
was quite traumatic for me, sort of hanging around for hours and
yeah,
wondering what to do. And I think
yeah.
that so it comes to being safe. Say you feel safe to do you feel safe to express yourself, or did you have the like insecure problem? Like, do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm getting at?
I was fairly. I guess I was regarded as a fairly kind of shy, introverted sort of kid. I was quite
Did you have
quiet.
brothers?
I just sort of quiet. I just minded my. I was fortunate to have a couple of older. Actually, they were second cousins. They were my mum's cousins, and there was a
Mhm.
couple of those guys who were. They were a lot younger than my mum, so they were closer in age to me. But say when I was 14, they were 24.
Right.
So if I was sitting I had the pleasure of sitting in their company at my great aunt's house and listening to their patter, how the kind of bright 24-year-olds could tell stories and
Mhm.
just absolutely. I was in stitches, but I didn't. But certainly, I didn't have the confidence to offer much. But I was taking it all in, and I just loved that. Just they were kind of great role models in a way,
Right.
just how
Yeah.
so they were kind of expressing who I would have liked to be, sort of,
Uh,
wow, these guys are so cool, they've got all the Beatle boots and brilliant record collections. They're out living this life, and they had all these amazing stories. They had us in stitches, and
yeah,
they
I
would
had an
like.
uncle like that. But I mean, were you an only child?
No, we've got two sisters.
Oh, you
It's
two sisters. So
one
you,
older, one
if
older
you,
and older younger.
like, if you got your dinner and were you able to say, "Nah, I'm not eating this," or you didn't fancy it, or did
Yeah,
you have
no,
to?
my parents they weren't like crazy strict, but they were sort of strict enough. There were
Yeah.
sort of rules that were understood. We didn't mess about in that sense. It was a
So
kind
you
of
always feel sort of safe to express yourself. That's what I'm getting at. There was no, you were quite
yeah,
confident or
but yeah, I had lovely parents.
cool.
My dad was uh, he was a classic working dad. He was away as it was in those days. He did night classes and things when I was younger, so he wasn't around a lot. So I think it
Mm.
was probably a lot closer to my mum in those younger years. She was a very bright woman who had gone to uni at age 17, and her parents emigrated to Bermuda. So
Okay.
she had a weird. She's never really resolved it, and
Yeah, right.
she's resented it. I think she
Yeah.
felt, but by the same token, I'm sure she wanted to go to university. She she'd gone to Notre Dame up in the West End.
Yeah.
She got a scholarship up there. She lived in Napier's Hall Street, just along Great Western
I used
Road.
to
And
live there myself.
did you? Yeah,
Number
it's one of
30,
those street. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
35, man.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah, they were above. I think it was Alexander's. The sort of her dad worked in the Alexander's, which is kind of to do with cars and things like that.
Yeah.
There's a car showroom, if you recall. And anyway, he went abroad, leaving my 17-year-old mum, who then went to uni, I think to study zoology and various things. But she was a bright spark, still is. Um, but then she met my dad, the much more sporty guy.
Okay.
He'd gone to a nice school in the north of England. A lot of people always thought he was English, but I still can't hear it. He's just a quite a nicely spoken guy. But his dad worked abroad, again, typical of the times, worked in India and all that sort of stuff as an engineer. So my dad's left it. He goes to public school, comes back to Glasgow to get a job in selling steel. And one night at the Queen Margaret Union, my mum was on the door and got him signed in, and that's how they met.
Okay.
Then my mum fell pregnant with my older sister, so I had to pause uni. And then the plan was that my big sister, who was a year older than me, as it turned out, was going to be looked after by the grandparents, my dad's parents. Uh, but then my mum restarted uni. Then I came along.
Right.
Then uni went out the window. So she ended up in Uddingston as, I think, a very bright woman, but quite isolated. There's
Mhm.
this place I described when we grew up. It was it was a good 20-minute walk out of the village
Yeah, yeah.
across a disused quarry, and the
Mhm.
motorway where wasn't there. So I think she was kind of a little bit freaked out. She was a city kid. She'd
Right,
grown
right.
up in, say, Napier's Hall Street, riding the trams at age 7 on her way to school and all this kind of stuff.
Wow.
So suddenly she finds herself out in Uddingston with one kid down in Wales with the grandparents and a wee boy, me. So yeah, I think it was kind of quite tough times for her, but we were very close. And then my younger sister came along 3, 4 years later. So I say my dad wasn't around that much, but he came more into the scene as we were teenagers. He used to take me playing golf around a
Really?
golf or something. So
In
he's a
Bogle?
no out in his Drumpelia golf club up in yeah,
Okay.
yeah, the nice yeah, yeah. So yeah, no, good, very fortunate. Good, two
Mhm.
lovely sisters. Mum and dad are great. They're still going. My dad's 91 now.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a he's a shining example of what a sporty lifestyle can do for you. I think he's
Okay.
in
Did you
ultra shape.
do yoga or meditate or anything like that?
Not really. No,
No.
um, I've been in the wars recently with a fractured pelvis,
Oh
but
God.
that's limited. Yeah, my mobility's.
How'd you do that?
I had some kind of gardening accident. I'm not really sure what happened. It's in the nature of
Gardening at night.
falling down a hole or something. Like with a tree
Okay.
had once been. That was typical, and I had a couple of those, so one of them must have done it, kind of thing
Yeah.
that could come with age when you're, yeah, you just
You
the
better
the,
get that sorted out for your
the
Barrowlands
yeah,
gig, man.
yeah, yeah. Well, I don't know if you know, but we played at Kelvin Grove Bandstand last
My
weekend.
mates were all there, and
Oh yeah,
no one said a bad thing about it.
yeah,
The thing
great. No, I
that
really enjoyed
the
it, but I had to
voice is
do it from
still
a
there.
yeah,
Well
yeah. Oh, the
done,
voice was there. Yeah, and I probably,
man.
I mean, I'm more confident in singing and just enjoy it. And yeah, that was all fine. But I sang from a stool, and that was fine. I mean, it's
Cool. No, that's
you
a
know,
good. What a nice place to play. I mean, when I was a kid, it used to be a punk afternoons there.
yeah,
When I was
exactly.
14, 15, it was great. Like
Yeah,
open.
that's
But
right. It was they did a lot of refurbishment work on it, didn't they? About 10 or 15 years ago, and
yeah, I've not been to any of the
it's a
recent shows, but
it's a gorgeous venue. If you
it's a
get
great
weather like
place.
we did, yeah, dry weather, it's such a what a setting. The university and
Yeah.
one side and Park Circuit up on the hill
Whoever's
behind the
curating
stage.
it knows what they're
Oh,
doing as well. They're picking
oh
some good
yeah,
people.
really, yeah. The regular music are behind the particular summer
Okay.
nights thing that we do, and they've got it so well organized now. It's just it's making money for them. Everyone's happy. The bands are getting paid, and the crowd seem to love it as a venue. So yeah, it was great fun. I mean, I'm loving playing with the friends again, guys. Again, you know, we never had crazy fun. We had more tensions as you would, but
Did you
nothing
play
was really.
Europe, or was it just basically Glasgow, London, or did you get outside of UK or with the
We
band?
did a bit of stuff in Spain.
Okay.
Did a residency over in Madrid, which was a lot of fun, and we did one foray into The Hague. Did a
That
festival over
was the
there. So
Babers, but not Friends again.
no, that was a friends again one. They were
Really?
friends. Yeah, yeah. So we did.
Oh,
So
okay.
that was fun. We didn't do it as much as I would have liked, but it was good. We packed a lot into doing a small amount of shows in terms of experience. I think we got a snapshot of what it could be like, and I'm not sure it was the life. I don't necessarily regret that I didn't become a road dog as they now seem to term it. People that just live it. That is a very it's a difficult life choice actually to I mean, I had a good pal here the other day for lunch, Ricky, who plays with the Brian Jonestown Massacre, and he
No way.
he he was a self-described road dog, but
Oh, no,
he's
they're
got a fair bit of
hardcore,
time off now.
man.
Yeah,
The
so yeah,
rider would be strange, probably.
yeah, it's not for everyone. It really isn't for everyone that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
he's found a way to navigate it, and he will not drink on on tour. I think you have to actually stay quite clean to get
Mhm.
through it. And because if when you're early 20s, you can go nuts, party every night, and then that's unsustainable for more than a
No,
couple of
no,
tours. Then
no, no.
you're headed for rehab for sure. So yeah,
And
we did a bit. The foreign touring was great. I'd say the friends again. There was never some explosive falling out. There were simmering tensions and things like that as it would be. But it's great to get back together when all that's kind of in the past because we're all guys in our 60s now, and
yeah.
it's kind of you're not going to waste energy on kind of some of the more petty jealousies or insecurities about who did what. And
Are you recording or writing new stuff? Or,
well, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, we are sort of knocking ideas around. Yeah, I think I'd love to. God knows, do another EP or an
Mhm.
album. Yeah, the possibilities there. I think
I'd
we've
love
got a
to.
stack of songs.
Yeah, I'd love
I've
to.
got songs that don't really fit with the Bathers. They feel more they would suit the Friends Again
Uh-huh.
treatment, and I think James has the same thing. He's got some really nice guitar pieces that are like, oh, that's good.
Is there any demos around from the early days of the Friends Again, like more unproduced kind of things?
Yeah, there was quite a few. We went to the classic Hellfire Club up in
Hmm.
just off Woodlands Road, which
Oh,
everyone is in there, Orange Juice, Aztec Camera. So yeah, there's a few songs that were unreleased. They're not particularly great, but there's definitely demos of the
mhm.
State of Art, Honey at the Core, Sunkissed, those songs. Some
Well,
some yeah, I actually really like the Honey at the Core demo particularly.
that would be interesting to hear
That's
that.
good. Yeah, I remember Billy Sloan played that sort of hot off the
Oh
press.
God,
In the days you could send a cassette in or
is he
drop
still
it off.
going?
He's just been laid off by BBC Scotland, unfortunately.
Oh
So
shit!
they've
Have you-
stripped away the kind of the avenue for young bands to get played
What's
through.
that?
They've taken away a lot of the good DJs.
The
Who
venues are going, everything's going. My
Yeah,
God.
it's tricky. It's a tricky, tricky area to break. Yeah, make headway.
Anyway,
So
see
yeah,
the
no,
Babers. Is that
uh,
from the? It's my favorite painting. I think it's Surat. I don't know how you spell it. It's like
Surai, I think
Surat.
that's right.
Is that
George
where?
Surai.
Because there's a million Babers. There's every
Exactly,
artist has done a Babers, but I imagine
exactly.
it's that one. Yeah.
You're very close. I went through a kind of obsessive phase when Friends Again broke up. I did that strange thing of there was one of those magazine that you bought one every week and you built up a big collection. But
Oh,
this particular thing was art, and
okay.
I through that, albeit they're a bit cheesy really in their plasticky binders, but I really grew to love art, particularly initially the Impressionists, and
Mhm.
yes, Seurat's The Bathers at Anier. That's a really tricky bit to pronounce.
Yeah, yeah.
That was one of the ones. There was a few others, a few
And yeah, it's in
Anier.
Paris.
That's
But this
gorgeous painting.
painting is
Yeah,
exactly what these three songs. This
yeah,
seems to go together.
yeah.
That's
Oh,
the
that's a
like
nice.
the magical, dreamy.
Yeah,
I
that's a
mean,
lovely tie. Yeah, I mean that was really inspiring to me. Hence choosing the name The Bathers
mm,
and I don't know. Yeah, I had a hankering to somehow place myself. That I wanted to be living in that world, whatever that world was. It looked amazingly sort
yeah,
of
me too.
beautiful and glamorous to me.
I always sit whenever I go to any kind of stretch of water, I just sit and imagine I'm that guy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
Have you
good.
seen? I think have you? I think it's in the Edinburgh Museum, the National Gallery. There's a pen. Is it pen or is it charcoal? A preparatory drawing of that guy. It's the most beautiful
I haven't
drawing.
seen
As
it in life, but I
uh,
know I've seen it in
yeah,
an image of it.
oh
Yeah.
man, it's something else. I love it. I love the skills just when you see someone just a beautiful drawing, and
Mm.
that there's a study of that guy by Sura, and that's something else. Yeah, it adds another level, another dimension to the painting itself. Beautiful, beautiful drawing.
Yeah. And so there
Uh,
was a gap of like 20 years between the two bands. No.
well, between not really. There was a long gap between the Bathers doing anything. I mean, I was doing a lot for myself, but between Bathers albums, there was like basically 2000 to about 2023. Yeah, so yeah, long gap.
Yeah,
Uh,
oh, well.
but I've just been been a dad, and I
Okay.
start to make ends meet. I found myself being a gardener,
Okay,
which
cool.
I grew to love. Yeah, I
Let's
grew
do it. Yeah.
to build up kind of good wee business, which now my son and daughter are basically going to take the reins, as they love it as well. You're outside,
Okay.
we're working in a nice, if you know Pollock Shields in Dumbreck,
Yeah, yeah, I
the
know.
south side, they're beautiful big houses. It kind of a little bit like the Uddingston with the sandstone villas, which I've always
Yeah.
had a just a romantic attachment to the look of those houses.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
they're all built on top of coal mines, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, people like Greek Thompson were
Mm.
inspiring architects. Beautiful sandstone villa in a nicely landscaped garden. It's that's yeah.
Mhm.
So
Your
we
kids
kind of
past the my boy's he's 13 at the moment, and I
right.
always have this problem that everyone, the whole world has it, this social media thing, and
Yeah,
I'm struggling with it at the moment. I wonder, are your kids past that now?
yeah. We kind of went through all those. We didn't. In the end, we just kind of folded and gave into it. But it's
Yeah,
impossible to police and how
I'm
much
I'm kind of separated from his mum, but she was like she does half an hour a day and it works perfectly for her. But I
yeah,
can't imagine how that works. Half an hour
yeah.
a day, it doesn't work for me.
No, exactly. No, I mean, it's going to work out right. I mean, my daughter, she's now 23.
Uh,
My son is 30. So yeah, they're well, they do their
okay,
own thing.
well, of course, yeah, yeah.
They've come through it.
Uh-huh.
My daughter particularly was of the first generation that got an absolute saturation with social media. I mean,
Hmm.
I remember her mum saying to her last recently something about YouTube. Oh, when did you get a YouTube account? Mum, I've had one since I was seven. Something like that. She's like, so she's very, very tech savvy. And she
Yeah.
sometimes I do. She's like watching these Korean dramas and things, and I think is you getting too much screen time, but you just gotta. She's a very bright. She writes poetry, and
Oh, great.
she's a lovely young woman, hardworking. She works in the food bank. She does a couple of voluntary days in a food bank in Glasgow.
Hmm.
She's working her gardening. She's doing her poetry. So something's gone right. She kept the poetry quite hidden. I knew she was keeping a journal. I just thought it'd be a diary, but then she showed her mum some poems, and like, wow, these are actually really good. So that makes me very happy that you know, any ability the family have for writing a lyric or a turn of phrase. She's carrying on that tradition, which is great.
Is that a doggy I seen you behind you, or was that
Is
a
it a
cat?
wee cat? Yeah, is it
Okay.
the
What's
cat?
the
Yeah,
cat called?
Caradoc, which is
What?
my daughter chose that name. It's Welsh for dear beloved or beloved one or something. Caradoc,
Canada.
Caradoc. Yeah,
Canada.
um,
Dear beloved. Okay.
dear
Like Prince,
beloved.
maybe. Is she a Prince fan?
But
Is she a
it
Prince
could
fan?
not pretend, but do the beloved dear gathered? Yeah, yeah. So yeah, no, he's a lovely wee cat. 14, 14. Though he
Right.
did drive his sister away. We had a cat for one for Callum, one for Evie boy, and he drove the girl cat away. Food wars. So she moved in across over the street, you know. So such is the way of cats.
Do you mind if I ask you stupid? People slag me off for asking these questions, but I find that people like it, and
Yeah.
it's just like 10 fast questions. If you don't think it works well, but like his favorite film.
Oh, favorite films, just quick fire. Oh, I
Aye.
mean, I do. Breakfast at Tiffany's always is a bit of a
Uh,
favorite. Something
favorite
like it ought to, but no, okay, we'll go Breakfast at Tiffany's fine.
favorite building.
Favorite building, because I mentioned Greek Thomson, I'm suddenly thinking of Homewood House out on the river by Cathcart. It's a fascinating
Oh,
building.
was that a
National,
public building?
yeah, it was
That's
National
good.
Trust. It's well worth a visit. It was a private house once upon a time. Then it was a convent, and then fortunately, the nuns just put hideous, lowered ceilings. But when they took that away, all the gorgeous stuff was all there. So
Mhm.
that's an
I
interesting building.
don't know that one. Okay,
Yeah,
favorite
Homewood House.
Homewood House. Yeah.
Yeah,
Favorite color.
favorite color. Oh gosh, be blue.
Okay, animal.
Big cat, cat.
Okay.
Yes.
Favorite thing to eat?
Oh, uh, any nice in season vegetable, like a lovely nectarine that's just absolutely, so,
Well,
or a kiwi. I've got recently going to kiwis, but with the skin on. That's a
skin on.
that's the thing of joy. Just rinse
Ah,
it and just
okay.
so much goodness in it apparently. So
I need to try
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
that.
Just kind of slice it, rinse it, slice it, eat the whole damn thing. It's brilliant. Revelation.
Favorite
Who knew? But I read it somewhere and it was like, oh, yeah.
drug.
Favorite drug?
Mm.
Oh boy. I mean, back in the day, a magic mushroom wouldn't have gone to but that year going back 40 years there. But yeah,
Okay.
they were
You're
fun.
not an ayahuasca man, no?
No, no, no.
Okay. Can you give us like one piece of music? Like, I know people always struggle. Something like Scott Walker comes to my mind. I think any of others. It's just a piece of music that you can, like a healing piece of music that always works for you, or
All
an
right.
album.
I know a lot of people love this piece of music, uh, but the slow movement from
Oh,
Mahler's Fifth Symphony,
is that
Adagietto.
is that from Death in Venice? Is
Exactly right. Yeah,
ah,
that gorgeous.
so good.
I know people that probably kind of from the Blue Nile. That's it's one of his favorite.
Ah,
It's a lot of us
okay, no.
of that generation were drawn to that, probably from the movie originally.
I've got the
I,
vinyl there, and there's this
yeah,
crazy story about the kid in the movie. My God.
yeah, I say it's a tragic. The whole backstory of the actor and everything is awful. That's kind
Ooh.
of marred the movie a bit, but
Uh,
that music is.
it's
I'll always go back to that as a gorgeous, gorgeous piece of music. Yeah.
that is like a prayer or a hymn, you know.
Oh
Wish I
yeah.
would compare your three. They're like prayers to me
Oh
somehow.
well. Yeah. Well,
Hymns.
thank you. I mean,
Sorry, I'm
I guess.
just yeah. I always go because I don't really yeah. I just love those three songs, man. There's
Yeah.
actually five or six actually that from that time that drove me crazy.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. That's great. Are you going to come to the Barrowland show? Or are you?
Well, I'm in Mallorca, so
Uh,
I actually was hassling people to try and get because it sold out like the last one. But we'll talk about
yeah.
that later. It just
Yeah. Yeah.
sold out so fast. It
Yeah.
was crazy. It was like a what do you call it when something goes crazy? A viral moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
As soon as it
We were
was,
starting. Yeah. When we did that first show in January for the Celtic Connections, I imagine we'd be playing to 300 or 400 people, and that would be a result.
they've
But
done it 10 nights in a row.
1,500 tickets sold in 2 hours, and
It was crazy.
that was big. So Friends Again were kind of bigger than they ever were. It's just
That was the vibe. I imagine the vibe was
that was
electric. Yeah.
gorgeous. I've got to say that was a gorgeous